Hello, hello, and welcome to the webinar. Super excited to have you all with us. And as you come in, there is a slight delay, just to let you know before we see you and your questions, you might hear us. So if we don't respond to you right away, we're not ignoring you, just kind of waiting for the response to come in. With that said, we are going to wait just a couple minutes to let the live stream kind of load up, make sure everybody joins. But what helps us when you come in the chat there, wave hi, let us know where you're from. It's really cool to kind of see all of the different cities that are joining us from all across the country. Plus, I always like to make sure that we're covering everything from the West Coast to the East Coast. We have hundreds of people joining us on the webinar today. So we're going to have a pretty big group and super excited for y'all to wave hi. So again, for people that are just joining, go ahead and say hi in the chat. Say hi to the group. Let us know where you're from. We're going to have a pretty big group today and lots of content to go over. And also, we're going to leave plenty of time for you guys to ask us questions. This is going to be a really fun event. I have myself. Usually, we have another agency, join us. We're going to change it up a little bit. I have my brother, Carl Meritz with me, and we're going to do a little Ask Me Anything, kind of Reddit style. We have a lot of questions that have already been prepared, so we're really excited to share some of the questions people have been submitting just through email and through our form online. So
and this is the first webinar that we've done together in like how long, Tori?
Man, I think it was early in the pandemic. Maybe last year.
I think it was before that.
Right?
I think it was last year.
Before
probably like a year and a half ago. Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited. I'm excited to do another one with you, Carl. I know you don't like to get on the camera very much, but it's gonna be fun.
I guess I don't know. I don't mind it, but it's not my favorite thing.
He likes to leave that to me.
Yeah.
Carl's more busy than I am, that's for sure. All right, let's see. Man, we've got people from all over the country. I'm seeing the welcomes kind of slow down. We do have a ton of content already 2 minutes in, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking. Let me look here real quick. I'm gonna see. So we have people from Maryland, Wisconsin, Maryland. A lot from Maryland, Florida. I used to live in Florida. I used to live in. Okay. Nice. Anyway, I'm just kind of getting a feel for where around the country. Seattle, I've lived up in Seattle area too.
Oklahoma.
I used to live in Kirkland area, so cool. All right.
Yep. All right. Let's get it started. So today, we kind of labeled this one 2021 Outlook and AMA or Ask Me Anything. Really, it's kind of an Ask Us Anything. So anyway, kind of maybe it should be AUA, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. I'm Tori. If you've joined the live events before, I'm typically hosting that. So I'm co-founder and CEO of Rocket Referrals. That's who I am. And like I said, I have my brother, Carl. That is actually two different people. I had one of Carl smiling, one me not smiling, just so we could clear it out. We are not twins. A lot of people ask us about that. We're not twins.
Well, I recently grew my hair out so that people could tell us apart. And got cut for the first time since the pandemic. So
yeah,
back to square one.
Carl is our COO, so he runs our account management team. So a lot of people, when they talk about Rocket Referrals, they give us comments and love our account managers. Our account managers watch these live streams, so they're online. If you're in chat and you love working with one, they would sure love a shout out. So that's always appreciative when we hear that. But Carl really does a great job putting that team together. So he is the source of that amazing customer service that you get from those guys.
Well, yeah, the account managers themselves are, but I guess I encourage them a little bit.
Yeah,
I love our account management team best.
Here we go. This is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about consistent quality client communication and why it's important for your success in 2021. We're going to talk about how you can convince your clients to buy additional products. So a lot of cross-sell conversations are going to happen today. And then we have an update on some recent enhancements that we've made to Rocket Referrals. I'm going to talk a little bit about our new ready-to-go automations that are in there, and then ask us anything. So we're going to have hopefully plenty of time to talk about questions. So I'm going to kind of run through this, and I don't necessarily, typically I have questions for my guest. Carl is the guest on this one, but he's just going to jump in and provide his input on things as we get through stuff. So I'm going to run through it. And also we are going to be, I forgot to mention this, we are going to be looking for questions that come in on the Q&A section of the chat. So we'll try and keep we can either look at the Q&A or the chat. So we try and go back and forth. If you have a question you really want to have us answer, put it in that Q&A section over on the chat. That way we'll see it and we can separate the chats from the questions. So, all right, quick look into 2021. I want to talk about, I guess to start with some things around 2020. And, there's a lot of people talking about, what's gone on in 2020 and kind of what's the impact on insurance. I want to cover 4 main points that I think are, are going to make a difference on how people buy and how you offer insurance. So first of all, obviously in 2020, there's people that have lost income, right? And it's really changed their priorities, and they've tightened budgets. So basically food and mortgage becomes more important than cars and toys. It's just kind of what has happened. It's not true for everybody, but there's a huge portion of the population that have less income in 2020 than they did the year before. So they're changing what's important. Business needs change. So thinking of commercial line stuff, we have a change in business. So fewer employees, less space needed, and lots of business closures that just couldn't make it through the pandemic for one reason or another. Let's use Rocket Referrals as an example. We have, I think, 20,000 square feet in downtown Des Moines, and basically Carl and I are in the office and that's it. So we have a lot of employees that are working remotely. That means that we have a renewed focus on cyber insurance and making sure that we're covered from digital attacks and things like that. We're spending a lot more energy on securing more remote endpoints, like work from workstations at home and things like that. But as 2021 things start to come back, we're going to have a look at that space and say, do we really need all that space? Or do we need space in different areas, of the country? We have people all over the place that might change. Carl, you were going to say something, it looks like. No?
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about how one of the perks to having this office space is I get to go crazy on the hoverboard and kind of zip around. But anyway, I just wanted to touch on the lost income has changed priorities and tightened budgets. I mean, I remember before 2020, a lot of insurance agents that we worked with would always say that price was the issue that clients would have when they left. They would say that they're leaving because of high price. And a lot of times it really wasn't so much the price they would give. I mean, we did a lot of research into like sentiment of the clients and find out exactly what are the reasons why they're leaving. And usually it was always tied to that communication. They weren't reaching out very proactively, that kind of thing. But in 2020, because price is more of an issue for them, you probably had a lot more people that were reevaluating their budgets and trying to find ways of saving money, and cutting out more expensive insurance might have been more of a priority for them. And so it's even more important during times like that to focus on the relationship and differentiate beyond just price itself. But I think that, so we are starting to we did see more people in 2020 because of the lost jobs, not have the money to pay for more expensive policies. So they really have to have that value, show that value as an agent.
Also, I should say to everybody that's watching this, a lot of the research that we based some of these things on is out there publicly for you to look at, and I would encourage everybody to look for data like this. In fact, one example that I think is really easy to find, is really useful, is TransUnion has an annual report on insurance, and if you just search 2020 annual TransUnion insurance report, you're going to find a ton of data. And then you can find a lot of other similar reports like that. And so some of them cost a little bit of money. We've bought those things. We've done the research. We're kind of compiling everything and sharing it for you. So this is not Tori and Carl just like finger in the wind. This is us taking that research, combining our data and what we know in our system and really showing it to you.
And by data in our system, we have millions of survey responses from clients all across the country, insurance agents, their clients. And from that, we can use artificial intelligence to group them into different categories. And from that, draw conclusions and then test them with agencies and evaluate the best practices and then refine them and automate them in the system. So
yeah, I'm going to actually show one piece. You didn't see this, Carl. I add this slide later, but next bullet point here. People at home working and playing, I say playing, but basically what I'm trying to say here is people have more screen time. They are on the computer a lot more. And people are shopping more digitally, and they're referring people through social networks more than ever. In fact, some research that we saw, it was upwards of like 58% of the people said that they referred a friend through social means, whether it be a Facebook recommendation or a LinkedIn recommendation or something like that. People are really using these platforms to connect with people that they know, and sometimes people that they don't even really know, but they just happen to be in the same social circles online. So this is crazy in the amount of connections that people are having socially.
And that trend's going to only continue as we become, more of a digital culture and more comfortable, having relationships and recommendations and that kind of thing live remotely. So
yep.
I think that the 2020 initiated the change, but it's going to expand beyond that.
And then, of course, you have a lot of delaying of life events that typically drive needs, marriage, job changes, children, things like that, even business changes, right? So is a business going to add on that extra commercial property, or are they going to hire these people? There's a lot of things that have been delayed that typically drive, insurance needs, and those are going to start to explode. So let's go to kind of this is the slide that I added. I was going to show. And what I wanted to explain here is these are the total average NPS scores for all of our customers. So we take all of our customers' NPS scores and average them. And we do this all the time. And what I wanted to show, first of all, what's really neat, this is 2018 is black, then 2019, then blue. You can very clearly see a trend upward, right? The more people use Rocket Referrals in general, their scores are going up. So that's something that we've always known. But what really was interesting is, typically it was a pretty consistent, flow up. And if I threw 2017, 2016 on here, you'd also see that. So a couple of things. Look at 2020. And basically it started to go up February, March, and then whoop, it just steady streamed straight across. And it basically didn't change in 2020 until around election time. And also, what else happens is holidays around December. And we always see, if you look actually really, really closely in the data, you have 2018 at the end of the year has a little spike up, 2019 has a spike up, and 2020 has a big spike up because people send a lot of holiday cards. They're sending, especially in 2020, we had a huge campaign for New Year's cards. So that also makes it tick up. We always see a tick up towards the end of the year, but it was huge in 2020 because people really are looking forward to and expecting 2021 to be good. I have a couple polls. I always like to poll the audience at different times because it helps me kind of engage with you guys a little bit digitally. So I put a note up here, poll 1 and poll 2. I'm going to pull these out here now. And this is about how your business was in 2020. I want to kind of get an idea from you and how you felt your business did. I have a couple of polls. One is around revenue and one is around customer growth. I'm going to go ahead and hit start on this. And basically, was your revenue up? Was it consistent? Was it down, or was it down a lot? Because there's a difference, obviously, in revenue and customer growth, which I'm going to ask about next. But I'm really curious to kind of see how your revenue did, because in insurance there was actually a lot of shopping happening in 2020 around insurance. A lot of people thought that it was pretty consistent, but there was still a lot of shopping because there was just a lot of people moving things around. So let me wait till I get a few more responses, and then I'm going to go ahead and close it.
While you're doing that, let me just mention on the Net Promoter Score. I'm sure most of you know this, or maybe you've forgotten it, but there is a direct correlation between the increase of the score and higher retention, more referrals, higher loyalty with the client. So a lot of times we put it in this form of just an NPS and think of it as an abstract number that doesn't really have much value. But just remember, if someone is increasing their NPS by several points, that means they have higher retention. That means their clients are more loyal. So it directly relates back to the performance of your agency, how well your NPS is doing. So it's not just bragging rights to have a higher NPS. It means a more profitable agency.
So what I just saw in the chat is actually pretty consistent with what I see across the board. Was a lot of new business, unfortunately, a lot of cancellations. And I think that may continue into 2021, except we're going to help you on the cancellation side. We have a lot of tips we're going to cover today so that you can continue to get all of that new business, but also retain those people from canceling as well, because people are going to be moving around. Like, people are moving around a lot, especially now. And it's important for you to keep as much as you can while you're also adding on. And
I'm going to answer this question real quick. You said, remind us what NPS is. So NPS can mean several things. It means Net Promoter System or Net Promoter Score. And the context we're talking about here is a Net Promoter Score, which is the aggregate of all the individual survey responses that you're sending out to your clients, or more so the average. So in other words, if you send out 100 NPS surveys and you got X percentage of positives, X percentage of negatives, and X percentage of passives, when you bring those together, it comes into one score that's easy to understand, and you can measure that one score. But really, it's a direct correlation, this score, and how their individual responses are coming in. So the more happy clients you have, the higher your NPS score is, essentially.
Yep. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this second poll, and then I'll kind of go over the results. Well, first of all, I have to say congratulations. It's good to see that most people's business was up a lot, or consistent, and nobody had down a lot, which is good. So in terms of customer growth, it's pretty consistent with the revenue growth as well. That makes a lot of sense. What we have seen is, sometimes customer growth may go down, but revenue can go up or stay consistent because your people that are still with you are actually buying more and they're investing more in your company. The people that have done well through the pandemic, for example, are actually, buying more. They're doing more things. So that is something that we have seen in the data as well. So you guys can all see the chart. That's are the polls here. That's really consistent with what we have seen across the board. But want to say congratulations on everybody's business is up. That's fantastic. And I'm hoping that some of the things that we can talk about here coming up are going to help you retain some of those other customers that you've lost as well. And this will obviously work for everybody whose business is down as well. And I really do believe that 2020 is going to be a huge opportunity, 2021 is going to be a huge opportunity for everyone. And I'm really excited about this year. And there's a ton of opportunity in insurance coming up too. So what's going to bring some of those changes? Well, number one, jobs returning. It's going to bring back income. Home and auto purchases have already been rebounding. In fact, through 2020, you've probably seen a lot of auto changes, a lot of home. That's already starting to come back, and I think is going to come back even stronger in 2021, especially because of how that combines with businesses who are allowing people to work more remotely and essentially pick where they want to live, across the country. A lot of you may work out of smaller cities and smaller towns that people actually want to live in. You're going to have more people move into those more rural areas that don't want the city life because their job doesn't require them to be there anymore. And that's going to be a really good thing. You're going to have just access to more customers. Your market is going to grow. New businesses will start. A lot of them are going to find ways to fix and solve problems that didn't exist before 2020, right? So a lot of new things happen also with the new administration in the White House as well. So a lot of businesses are going to change. Businesses that have closed down because they couldn't make it through 2020 might not start up right away, or maybe not at all, but another business who sees a hole is going to fill it. And that's going to also have some differences in insurance needs. So because a lot of businesses are going to have more remote needs, they're going to have different health insurance type of requirements. They're going to have all kinds of different requirements for that. And I think that carriers are also going to start to release some new products that are going to help potentially protect people from what happened to their business through 2020 in the future. So life events that were delayed are going to soon come back, and they're going to stack on with your typical volume. So people that have wanted to get married in 2020 and then buy a house, delayed that to 2021. Same number of people who wanted to get married in 2021 is there. So that's going to happen. It's going to stack up. It's going to be a huge year. I think travel this summer is also going to explode. As soon as people are vaccinated, ready to start traveling again, it is going to blow up. People want to get out of the house. They want to go do something. And it's going to be a crazy year for that. So in summary, basically, this year, people are going to change their business. They're going to buy more stuff. They're going to add to the family, and they'll need insurance to protect themselves. So that's where the opportunity is. And it's huge. It's a really big opportunity. This is once in a lifetime kind of opportunity coming.
And by opportunity, we're talking about new customers as well as more opportunities with existing customers by cross-selling and finding more revenue per account. And I think both
exactly
are important.
And that's the thing is, I guess what I'm saying is a lot of your existing customers are going to have these things happen to them. And if you're not careful, you may not be the first place that they go to look to do those things. And that's what we are going to talk about.
I think a lot of agents are surprised that they might go somewhere else for an additional, if they don't know that they sell one policy versus another. They think, well, if they need something, they come automatically to me. That's not always the case. So
that's right. Not. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier is the reason that that's the case is because more people are online and more people are being bombarded with digital advertising from these huge brands. That's the first point that I have here is you need to stay. So what does this all mean? You need to stay connected. They're going to be bombarded with digital advertising. Some of the research that we've seen is investment in digital advertising and also direct mail advertising for huge brands shifted in 2020, right? They actually reduced the amount of advertising that they were doing, and they shifted to more of a, hey, we're here for you kind of thing. That's about to come back, and it's going to come back full force. And anything they saved on advertising, during that time is going to be dumped into growth into 2021. So they are going to be hit with a lot of ads. But that's okay, because if you can stay proactive, anticipate what people need based upon their situation and their current products, then that's good. The proactive piece is really the key word there. Is you need to make sure that you're reaching out to people and letting them know that you're there for them, and anticipating their needs and providing them solutions to problems before they really even know they have a problem. And that's what we mean by cross-selling and upselling. So resolving detractors quickly. We don't want to have any reason at all for people to think that they should look somewhere else, right? So they're going to be more sensitive. Typically, you have a little bit of time between when you get a detractor response and when they start shopping around. But now there's so many options, and there's a lot of things kind of coming at people that as soon as you get that detractor response, it's important to resolve that situation. But also, sorry, go ahead, Carl.
I just want to say, like, when we're talking about resolving detractors, right? Sometimes, I don't know if this is one, I don't think it's one of our Q&A, but I had heard agents ask before, should I call them? Should I email them? First off, let me back up real quick. A detractor is when someone responds to that Net Promoter Score survey, a 0 through 6, saying, is the likelihood to recommend? And they say, no, not really. Those are the kind of people that you need to reach out to very soon, because they're very likely to leave. And so we found that when you give them a call, not email them, but actually give them a call, it increases the chances of them staying with you at renewal by over 55%. So it's a tangible, big difference, just that single phone call. And we're always surveying people with Rocket Referrals. When those come in, just pick up the phone, give them a call, and address the issue. We actually have some resources online that can give you some scripts or some best practices on how to do that too.
win back campaigns are also going to be important for people that left, especially those in 2020. A lot of people that left because of some of those reasons. It could be they didn't have a need for whatever it was that they had with you before. And when that need comes back, you want to make sure that you're the first place that they come. So win back campaigns are also important. A lot of those people that canceled, if they canceled because of price and they went to a more low budget kind of place and they're not getting the service that you were offering them, woo them back with amazing service and, letting them know that you're there for them and things like that. So you can actually win these customers back. Sometimes it's a lot easier to win back a customer that you had before than to get an entirely new customer that doesn't know about you.
And we have so that's where to help with that.
We do, yeah. Yep, I'll talk about that. I think that one of the neat things that you can do with that is look at people who were a prior promoter that canceled, and be able to use that into your campaigns too. So lots of neat things that you can do there.
We do have sample campaigns, yes.
Some things that we can do. I'm going to start off with, most of the people on this webinar are Rocket Referrals customers. So I'm going to talk a lot about Rocket Referral Solutions. If you're not a Rocket Referral Solution, or a customer, I'm going to cover kind of what this is and how you could do something similar, with another platform or something like that. So consider using Rocket Connect or something similar. I'm going to share my screen now and actually show Rocket Connect. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it because this is one of the key things that you can do to stay in touch with people without a lot of effort, because a lot of things we're saying is like, hey, stay in touch with people, build a relationship, build trust, all that kind of stuff, but it takes a lot of work to do. Rocket Connect is a really neat platform that we built, and it's very unique. There's nothing else really like it out there. You basically fill this thing full of content like I'm showing you here. This is my library. This is just a sample insurance company that we have, and we filled it full of content. Each content has an email that's associated with it, which we've already written. And then also, if we edit this, you can send this to a specific list of people, detractors or people with a specific type of insurance or, something like that. And what's really cool about this is Rocket Referrals has a neat algorithm that's going to find people who haven't been communicated with in a while, or doesn't have a renewal coming up, or, something to know that there's going to be some lag in communication with this customer and we need to fill it. And Rocket Connect is that filler. It makes sure that you're staying in touch with people. People talk about touch points and how many touch points you need to have. Well, we like to think that you just need to stay in consistent communication with people, and Rocket Connect is one of the best ways to do it so that you can fill the, basically fill the calendar full of communication out to this person, but it doesn't bombard them with communication when they're already getting communication from other things. So it listens to what else you're communicating through Rocket Referrals, and it will actually tone it down if there's other pieces that are already going out. So we have seen a tremendous, response from people who are using this. And it's not about, hey, that was a great article that you sent me, or thank you so much, because I learned a lot from that article. It was more of, hey, thanks for sending me that article. By the way, I need to do this. Or, hey, I forgot to tell you about this other thing. It's just an extra touch point that isn't market driven. That's really, really important. So if you want to get started on Rocket Connect in your Rocket Referrals account, it's available for everyone. We don't charge extra for it because we think that it's such a great tool and everybody needs to be using it. Just find Rocket Connect over to the left. Do find content. We have some partners out there that have already filled this thing full of content that you can pick and choose from, and then add it to your own library and turn it on. And of course, one of our account managers can help you with it. But the goal of Rocket Connect really goes back to making sure that people know that you're there for them and that you know something about insurance, and you've curated all these articles and kind of help them, get, more informed about what, your products and services might be. One of the things.
Can I just mention on that too?
Yep.
One of the big things that you want to show your clients isn't just that you're providing them this relevant content. I mean, that's obvious. That what they need to feel is that you're looking out for them on the back end, that you're taking the time to invest in that relationship. And so how we kind of frame these accompanying emails, these plain text emails, is the point is to make it look like you kind of researched an article on your own, found it, thought that this would help this individual client for whatever reason, and then took the time to forward it to them with a message saying, hey, I thought this would be relevant to you. So yes, you're giving them the education, and that's extremely valuable, but we're also doing so in a way that doesn't feel like a drip email campaign where you're just putting them on a list and they're getting something. They actually feel like you took and invested that time in them. And based on our research on the NPS surveys, that's one of the biggest missing things that people feel that agents should be providing them, is that relationship and that experience throughout the year, not just around claims and renewals. So that's why this is so much different, because it's not just about sending emails or getting in front of them, but doing so in a way that makes it feel like it's really meaningful and you took the time to invest in them personally. And that's why all the little nuanced things that go into it, all the little subtle subject lines and stuff really make it powerful and make it for what it is and make it different than just any drip campaign.
The next thing I wanted to talk about was our battle-tested, ready-to-go automations is what we call them. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to my other screen here. And this is one of the coolest things. This is one of the new features of Rocket Referrals that we've added. So if you click on new automation, if you go to communications, you click on new automation and you hit ready-to-go automations, you have a full list, tons of automations. It's not just the email copy, it's the email copy, the list setup, the timing, when people are added or removed from a list. It's several emails all tied together in multi-part campaigns, and literally it's there with a push of a button. So if you wanted to run a flood no home cross-sell campaign, you just click the button, add, edit this automation, you're ready to go. We also have really cool tags that you can filter by if you want to look at commercial lines, like EPL insurance. You want to get ones that are, targeting that, you can do that. If you want to look for flood insurance, you can do that. If you want to look for, win backs, we have several campaigns for win back campaigns. And you don't have to worry about writing these emails and sending them out. And a lot of the content, all of the content, I should say, has been tested. We make sure that it's all good and it's actually, working. So if you have any questions about that, account managers can help you get going on that. So these win back campaigns are really good. Carl, you helped write a lot of these. Did you have anything that you wanted to add around those?
Well, I mean, one of the Q&As that we get to later talks about like the positioning of the messaging and why we do it a certain way. So I'll talk more about it when we get to that point on like when we talk about battle tested, ready to go automations, what makes ours different. But really, we spent a lot of time investing, taking the message and crafting it in a way that would resonate with the client in their particular situation. And then we went and tested them with a bunch of insurance agencies, refined them, and now here they are. So if you guys are looking for best practices, we integrated those into the system. And of course, you can modify them if you want to, but really, and these aren't just single emails. Some of them are campaigns that send multiple over time. So it's pretty cool. We just added it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a lot of these are coming because we've seen the opportunities that are coming in 2021, and we wanted to make sure that you guys had really quick, easy access to start these things, and it wasn't a pain in the butt for you to go set the stuff up. So, and this is just a start. We're going to continue to add more campaigns, to this and enhance this feature. Hopefully soon it will include cards, emails, and text messages and all of the things so that you're not going to have to worry about how to mix all of those different pieces of communication. So we have some really big plans coming for that piece. The next thing that is really important to make sure you're doing is have a team call all of your survey respondents. You can set up employee notifications. I wanted to show you how to do that real quick. So over here on settings, if you click settings and then you scroll down to an employee, I can look at Dan Jurgens. He has a notification tab and I can turn survey responses on. That can go that way. And now all of a sudden he's going to get all of the emails for his customers. If you want all, or you can exclude bot responses or only Dan Jurgens contacts or all contacts. So the neat thing about this is we make sure that people are notified very quickly of detractors, promoters and neutrals. And then you got to make sure that you're talking to all of them. So over here, we have frequency, immediate, daily, or weekly. I always recommend that we have survey responses on immediate. It's really important. So if you're not responding to those questions or the responses, make sure you have a team set up to actually do that. It's very important. You'll find a lot of opportunities for promoters. So we're getting ready to get into the actual questions piece. of this. But before, I have a couple more polls, and it kind of sets up a lot of the questions that have come in. We've already, people have already submitted, and we have some answers for them. But I have some polls that are going to kind of set us up for that. So 1 second, let me start this one. These questions that are going to come, they're also very similar, but in a different perspective, right? So the first one is, most of my customers come to me because. I understand people are going to come to you for lots of different reasons, but I want you to think of what's your differentiating factor. What's the thing that you think people have really come to you for? Is it they couldn't find the support anywhere else? They saved money. They felt they could trust you now and in the future. They had no choice because you purchased another agency's book, have unique needs, or they're busy and we do the work for them. So in Carla and I's case, that's definitely the thing that we think about. We have a lot of different insurance needs, and we need somebody that we can say, hey, here's our business, and help me just figure it out, and I'll write you a check.
After you guys respond to, you can go to the polls tab up there on it says chat Q&A polls, and you can see the answers. So the other two are on there too.
And as you're answering this, it's important to think, if you struggled to think about what this is, and you're thinking maybe I'm not quite sure, make sure that if you can put in a process to actually talk to new customers and ask them these questions, say, why was it that you chose us? Because that information is going to really help you market your products and services going forward. So make sure that if you are struggling to think of what this is, then you might want to consider adding something to the process of new customers to figure this out. And it doesn't have to be every customer, but you should call people. You should definitely do some market research. I'm going to close this one. I'm going to start the next one. Then I will talk about the results together. This one is very similar, but this is why people stay with you. So they come to you for one reason and they stay for another. Do they come for one and stay for the same thing? I did remove the, they don't have a choice because purchase the book, because I didn't feel like that was a retention reason, but I think that that's an important piece. Wait just a couple seconds here for you guys to answer this one. I think that a lot of times the people stay for a different reason than what they came to you for. So this again is one of those things that I think you can find out through surveys and talking to your customers. Maybe talk to some of your long-term customers and say, hey, I know that you are seeing a lot of different ads, you have a lot of choice. Why is it that you decide to stay with us? What's the key factor that makes us better than anyone else?
And you can get a lot of that too. Sorry, I mean, you can get a lot of that data too by going through your NPS scores, go to your promoters, and you can look at what most of them are saying. But you could, if you have the premium plan, you can also go and we have AI that can automatically categorize the responses so that you can get this data automatically, and we'll find out what is resonating the most with your clients. And that's really good data to have, as Tori mentioned, because you use that to then continue to do less of what they don't like and more of what they like. And that obviously goes a long way to retaining clients.
So since you mentioned that, I'm just going to go ahead and share that screen, and then I'll talk about the survey results. So this is the AI that Carl's talking about. This is just our demo account. So the data is kind of, it's not very clean for, this piece, but you can see general themes, general service, support, responsiveness, knowledge. So all of the different comments are kind of broken down into different categories. And then we break it down into topics, what people find, that they actually are, that they're talking about. And then we even break down by customers, employees. So you can see which employees they're mentioning as well. So that's a really cool feature for those of you on Rocket Pros that are on our premium plan. You should definitely be checking that out every once in a while.
Hey, Tori, look at the survey responses here, and there is a difference between why they stayed and why they came with them. Yep.
So if we're looking at it here, we have they come to me primarily, people are saying they felt they could trust us, help them now and in the future. It's also, if you look at that in terms of why they stay, that is huge. That's 85% of you. There's only 57% before. Basically, what I'm seeing in these results, people came to you because they could save money, but they stayed with you because you became their advisor. You're doing exactly what we want you to do, right? To turn those people that came to you to save money and to, for price, and turning them into basically value people, right? The people that come to you for your value, and your value is your experience and your knowledge, and basically that peace of mind that you're there for them. So I'm really happy to see that that's up there on 85%. That's the thing in section C that's gonna make your retention really high. I would say that you need to again do your surveys and make sure that that is 85%. Why are people staying with you? That's a really important piece. All right. I thought that, it's interesting. We did get 4%, or a couple people anyway, that said they had unique needs. I think that that's another thing that's interesting, is a lot of people have sort of a very unique type of insurance, especially in the business, commercial lines that, no one else is going to have, or at least that's easily available for them. So that's another thing that's important. But even still, if that person's need changes, you want to make sure that they're going to buy other things for you, right? So if they only came to you for a unique need, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to bring the other things to you that are common across the board. And that's why building out that advisor relationship is really important. All right, so that's the end of my polls. Carl, anything else to say on that before I go to the next thing?
I mean, we got more stuff to talk about.
So. Yeah. So commonly asked questions. This is the Ask Me Anything. So we did have a form out, and we let people answer questions. Now this is for real. It could be anything. One of the questions that we got is, what's it like running a company with your brother? And a lot of people, I think, when we typically, get this question, it is around, oh my God, I could never work with family. But you know what? When you work with your family, you know that you can't really get away from them, and you got to be brutally honest with them. And at the end of the day, it ends up being a really great working relationship. Carl and I have worked really hard, to work really well together. And I think actually working with family, as a lot of you probably know out there, is an advantage over not. So we're really, happy to be doing this. And I think that it works. It gives Rocket Referrals a key advantage over other companies.
You have to, if you're going to start a company, I mean, I tell people this, that, a lot of our account managers have aspirations to start their own company someday, and I kind of work with them on it. And one of the things I tell them is, if you're looking for a business partner, a co-founder, you look for someone that kind of balances you out, someone that's not just exactly like you, that might temper your worst impulses, or have creativity when you need it, or organization when you need it, whatever it is. And so I think Tori and I, we have a lot of similarities, a lot of core foundational things. Obviously, we grew up as brothers, but we also have differences in the ways that it matters. So, if I'm thinking extreme over here, he can kind of bring me down over here, So I think that, yes, we do get along, and, we're family and everything, but we also complement each other very well as business partners too. And obviously the trust aspect is, Tori and I, we shared a room growing up, in Keokuk, Iowa, a small town in Iowa. And we grew up in the same room forever. We learned on what it was like to live together, and tolerate each other and stuff at a very early age. So I think some of that kind of carried over too, and into today as well. So
we shared the same office for a while too, until, we needed more space for meetings and stuff.
Yeah, the office was your living room for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So what type of messaging works best in automated emails? Carl, did you have an idea for this one?
Yeah, so when you ask, the question is, what is the best messaging for automated emails? And you really have to, it depends on what the automated email is. Is this a cross-selling campaign? Is this a retention type of email that's cultivating the relationship and nurturing them as a client? So really, I think there are some some components or some tenets of, I guess, of the communication that I recommend that span across no matter what. And what those are is really, number one is simplicity. I think a lot of times people get caught up in trying to write an email as if they need to explain every little element of something. And rather, I think it's more important to kind of get across like the big picture. So that's one thing, be very simple. Another one is very human. I think that even if it's an automated email, a lot of times agents or any business owners will try and find solutions that will give them very complicated, like HTML-based emails and that kind of thing, because it looks flashy and looks big and it looks like grandiose, as if, you know, some big established company would do it. But really, as an insurance agency, you're that hometown, you're that local agency where that personal connection is more important. So don't try and, you know, glamour up your emails too much, especially your automated ones, because they'll get ignored. They're going to fit them. They're going to put them in the same basket as like your, you know, whatever, you know, the ones that go into your junk email that we get every day that flood our inbox. So you need to stand out in a very personal, human way. And by integrating those elements into the automations themselves, meaning things like not using caps on the subject lines at times, if it looks like you just quickly typed it in, or writing maybe 2 or 3 sentences to explain an offer rather than spending 2 or 3 or 4 paragraphs to do it, because they know you copy and paste that. But the other one, they might feel like you just opened up your Outlook and wrote them something personal. So like when it comes to a theme across all of them, and I'll actually give a couple examples on what, you know, the difference between 2 types, but there are some elements that need to stay, and that's the simplicity and the natural human element of it. And I also want to just give you a couple examples. One is the difference between like maybe a life email, like a life cross-sell email, or a cyber liability type email. As a business owner, I mean, cyber insurance is something that almost everybody needs right now, but a lot of people, because it's kind of rising pretty quickly. I mean, in fact, we've had over the last couple of years, I don't remember, but it's like exponentially increasing the amount of cyber attacks that we're getting. And a lot of businesses don't know this. They think that they have to be a software company, or they have to be someone that has a lot of technology in their office to really need that cyber insurance. But the reality is, hackers are targeting any type of businesses that have an online presence or servers or any type of computer systems with ransomware or whatnot. And so the reason this is important is for like a cross-sell email that you send out for cyber insurance, I would recommend, in the template that we have in Rocket Referrals, is explaining the significance and importance of that in a very plain, simple way to try and generate some of the need for it, because people might have other expectations of what cyber is and not really realize that they need it. So it wouldn't hurt to include some background information on it. However, if it's something like life insurance, and there's different circumstances, but on some like call to action emails for life insurance, you don't need to spend as much time explaining the difference between whole life and universal and all that. You need to basically try and get on what, encourage them to take action, get on that urgency element, saying, hey, you know, it's not worth waiting, you know, why, you know, kind of focus on that angle rather than explaining the nuances of the policy. And I think that's the difference. But both of them are using the plain text email.
From the life insurance, you know, standpoint, actually, one of the questions we have here is, you know, what are the best practices to help cross-sell additional life insurance and annuities to existing Medicare clients? So, you know, this is a really interesting one because, you know, if they're existing Medicare clients, they're probably over 65 unless they're in some kind of special, you know, eligibility group or something like that. But we'll assume that they're 65 and they're probably thinking, you know, if they don't already have a life insurance policy, why do I need to get one at this age? You know, maybe my affairs are in order, you know, or whatever it is. But that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of other reasons that they, you know, might need life insurance. But, you know, it doesn't start with an email that, you know, is an offer in that case. I think that in that case, you have to, especially in those clients, you have to establish trust with them. You want, and I think it really comes down to the fact that nobody here, not any agent on this call, wants to sell people things they don't need, right? And you go into it with that mindset and knowing like, hey, I'm not here to sell you anything you don't need. And if that's the case, you have to understand what it is they need before you can offer the right thing. So you don't ever want to get put into a situation where you're trying to sell something without ever making the effort to understand what it is that they need or understand who they are as a person. And that comes through things like again, doing Rocket Connect. I think I saw it up in the chat before, is that it kind of softens people up. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Is it softens them up, but really what it does, it opens their mind to a conversation, let you know that you're there, and make sure that you're looking out for them, that you're thinking about this stuff, that you're trying to understand their needs. It could be that you're going to send a Rocket Connect article, and then maybe it's going to go every quarter or something like that. And then you start to sprinkle in some life insurance education, some annuities education, and things like that. And then if you get that person on the phone, you can have that conversation, or you maybe even just send that targeted email that says, hey, here's all of the reasons that you want to consider, life insurance now, even though you're, 65, 70, because you aren't going to be able to get it forever. There's a point in time where they're not going to be able to get it, and you want to make sure that their family's protected from expenses, and that kind of thing. So all of the reasons that someone would want it. You want to be able to listen and understand the customer, and then be able to put those specific things in the email. And you don't want it to feel like, hey, this is the same email that I send everybody and I'm here to sell insurance. No, you're there to protect them, and you're there to make sure that their family is protected, and that happens through building trust.
Let me just say this too, is like when you think, Tori mentioned Rocket Connect, and we were talking about automated emails, and we're like, what is the difference? And so in Rocket Referrals, we have Rocket Connect, which is focused mainly on cultivating those relationships and educating them with Rocket Connect. And then we have the automation over here that's more about calls to action, and can have some elements of education in it. But they worked in conjunction with one another. One helps establish the trust and the need over time. Not every email has to have a call to action. You're going to turn people off. They're going to always just try and sell me something. But you prime them with this, soften them up. And then over here, when it's time, you have the targeted ones that then go to the call to action. So they work in conjunction with one another. And not to mention, Rocket Connect does do a lot with retention as well. So anyway, that's kind of how they fit together.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it, Carl. It's cool. I never thought of it that way myself. What's the most important foundational process to have in place to cross-sell personal lines? And actually, it's kind of a good segue. I grouped those two questions together, that and the next one, because I really think the foundational process is that trust building, right? It's, again, making sure that people feel and know that you're not going to sell them anything they don't need. Right. And that's really where the trust comes. And you have to believe that yourself, right? You don't want to go into this thinking like you're going to try and trick people into getting something that they don't need or whatever. You really have to know that, hey, sometimes I'm going to listen to a customer, they don't need this. And then you're going to say, hey, I don't think you need that. They might not need that thing, but they're going to need something else, down the road that really helps build trust. So I really do believe the most foundational thing is that trust building. And that's the thing, again, that goes back to, even the answers to the question. That's what's going to help you keep customers as well. Not only does it help you keep customers, but it also helps in the cross-selling aspect of things as well. Next set of questions. Why does Rocket Connect include articles that may contain ads from another company? That's kind of a weird question if you don't know Rocket Connect that well, but Rocket Connect could link to an article on CNN, or it could link to an article on I don't know, ESPN or whatever it is, or it could be NerdWallet or whatever the website is. Digital marketers, especially on direct type of insurance and direct companies, they're going to put ads in Google's ad platform and Facebook's ad platform that are all over the internet, right? So if we send them to any website, the chances of them seeing an ad, are good. But what we're trying to do here is help you realize that they're going to see those ads no matter what. Those ads are online. It's massive. And you can't stop people from seeing online ads. So by
you don't
deciding
want to stop them from seeing them either. They don't want to feel like you're, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's true. Like what Carl's saying is you're differentiating yourself from those people. You're not the person that's going to get customers, with those online ads and stuff like that. What you are doing is building trust. You're being the advisor. You're really helping people through that. And so you have confidence. You can send a link out to somebody. There might be an ad. They're going to probably ignore it anyway. And the important thing is, that you are continuing to communicate with that person. not everyone clicks on a Rocket Connect article anyway. When you send them a link to an article, but that's not the point of the email. The point of the email is to let them know that you're looking out for them, that you're thinking about them, and you found something that they thought would be interesting, or that they thought, that you thought they would be interested in. And whether or not they click it or not, that's not the important thing. The important thing is that you did it. It's kind of you went through the motion. So what else to add on that, Carl?
No, I mean, I think that's mainly it. They need to know that you invested the time. A lot of people look at it from, they'd be more interested in creating an environment where they can get their clients away from any ads and stuff. But I say, rather than trying to do that, let's just make them such loyal customers that it doesn't matter what they see. And so, like, the idea of sending them an article through Rocket Connect is that's like you found an article online and you sent it to them. If the ads happen to pop up on it because through some algorithm, so what,
Yep.
Like, you're gonna be fine.
I want to hit Diane's question I just saw come up in chat, just to make sure we're getting to all of your questions that you guys are asking here. So we have 5 minutes left. Diane says clients are giving us low scores because their insurance is always increasing. What can we do to help the client understand that it's our job to shop and get the best price coverage, but we do not set the price? Well, I think, Diane, what you do is you have to have that conversation with them and let them know that you're on their side and that you understand. Let them know that you are going to have them listen to their situation and help them find the best coverage. The chances are, their rates are going to go up. I mean, that's just kind of what happens. People's rates going, life insurance is going up. Like it kind of is the thing. But I believe that if you have a conversation with that person, it's going to suit you really well. And the more you have that conversation, the better you're going to get at it, the better your team is going to get at it. And I really think that that's going to help you and it's going to help them. So
also,
sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to touch on that too, there's a saying that price is an issue mainly in the absence of value. So continuously show them the value that you offer them as an insurance agent, whether that's continual education, whether that's looking out for them in the back end. Don't just focus on the price element, focus on what your differentiators are as an independent agency. As a society, I believe that we're going to be moving more and more back to that wholesome relationship, personal connection with local businesses. We see the impact around us with COVID on how important it is to help support local businesses. So find other ways of reframing the discussion around just what they're paying. I know it's easier said than done, but adding more value is one way to make the price seem less expensive.
Yeah. And Diane, I get you. I'm not a perfect expert in the specific rates in insurance, but I know regionally, I hear lots of different regions occasionally that are having different price hikes. So Diane mentioned, home rates are going up 100% in Florida, so I'm seeing more detractors. A couple of things. Number one, again, have that conversation with your customers, because they're going to be upset when they get a quote somewhere else and it's just as high. You might even, if you have the confidence in your products and your rates, that you can say, hey, let me talk to somebody else and see what other rates that you could get are, and have that information so that you and you can have that conversation with them. I think that that's really good. Again, people are they might think that they're a detractor for price, but that's going to happen anywhere they go. So if you lose them for that, chances are you can also get them back. So make sure that you're taking really good notes and you can get those customers back. So be more than happy to talk more specific strategy on that piece, because that's a common thing. Talk to your account managers. They're also really good at that. Let's see. I'm going to pick maybe one. You know what? I'm going to talk about what we're working on next, because I think that's really interesting. We are going to continue to double down on making communication with your customers to build relationships as easy as absolutely possible. With that said, we're adding new technologies this year. You're going to have new ways to communicate with people. You're going to have more automations and more connected communications. We want to be the only platform out there that connects text messaging, web chat, cards, emails, everything together, even web visits, and helps you communicate better with your customers without you lifting a finger. That's our goal. And that's what we're going to continue to work for throughout this year. So I think you're going to see Rocket Referrals is going to make leaps and bounds in the software that we have available this year. So I'm super excited about that. Now, I guess I do have a couple more minutes. If anybody has any other.
Here's one here. Someone said, how much is too much communication? I think that you shouldn't think of it as much on the quantity, but more of the quality. So you could send out one piece of communication as too much if it's, just looks, if it doesn't have a point, or if it looks automated, that kind of thing. But as for, we do get that question, like how many touch points throughout the year should you send a client? There's no magic number because it depends on the type of client you have. But I will say that you do need to have educational, throughout the year, you should have educational information to show that the value as an agent, providing relevant content to them through Rocket Connect and whatnot, educating them on relevant topics to them. You should also have relationship focused communication, things that showing that you care about them individually as a person. That's like our handwritten cards that we do, loyalty cards, birthday cards, holiday cards, that sort of thing. And then also we use Net Promoter Scores to try and evaluate to see how to gauge the future communication. So evaluation, with the NPS, and then you have the relationship, and then the educational to continuously add the value throughout the year. So that and whatever.
Yeah, it's like nobody, if someone says you're communicating too much, they don't like the communication that you're giving them. You have to think of it that way, because if people really liked what they were getting, they would want more of it. People like to get more of what they like. If you like a good Netflix series, you don't want it to end. So you got to make sure your communication with customers feels like a really good Netflix series, right? You want to make sure that you have that experience. You got to think about it. So don't knee-jerk react and start to communicate less because you get one person that says you're communicating too much. Instead, you need to think of, what am I doing? What's the reason for that? How can I communicate that in a better way? And then one final question here, Chris has, can we touch a little bit more on the roadmap? Without giving away too much, Chris, we are going to work on a platform and continue to enhance our platform that helps to coordinate all of these pieces of communication together that can help you guys communicate with your customers without lifting a finger, right? So a lot more automation, a lot more AI, and we're going to integrate with your existing website, companies, and make this really easy for you. So we'll be sharing a lot more about that. Some really cool, exciting things.
Also, I don't want to discount how the best practices that we're integrating in with. It's not just about the functionality, but also the templates and what we've learned through doing this for, how long have we been doing this now? Right. 7 or 8 years. And we were the pioneers on the NPS in this industry. We were the ones that collected the data and have tested these templates. We have we have all kinds of account managers out there right now working and gathering information and best practices that we're reintegrating into the software. So don't think of it just from a technological standpoint, but also what the industry standpoint, the insurance industry standpoint. We're built for agents, and all of the copy and everything is tailored to your guys' audience.
I think one of the things that a lot of this, actually for Carl, Carl, one of the things I think a lot of agents don't know about Rocket Referrals is that everything was custom built. Every line of code we wrote ourselves. We're not on top of someone else's platform. We're not a platform on top of Keap or Infusionsoft or some other thing that's been white labeled. Rocket Referrals is custom made, which means we're very unique and we can really turn on a dime. When we think of an idea, we can build it into the platform. We don't need to go to somebody and say, hey, let's, can your white label thing do this? No, we just build it. So you're going to see a lot of really neat, unique things that you can only get at Rocket Referrals, and that's one thing that I get excited about.
Our first office was your living room. Our second office was an insurance agency's office, who let us work there for free for a while we picked his brain and kind of learned. But it's that tradition has continued ever since. This is the industry. This is what we do. Insurance agents, right? We're in Des Moines, Iowa. Insurance is big here. So, we understand the industry, and we continually innovate and get better. And we listen to what you guys have to say and build that back in. So if you guys have recommendations as well for like templates that you want, email them to us and we can create them and test them out.
Make it happen. All right, man. So with that said, we're at 2:04. We're over time. I really appreciate you guys sticking around for a little bit longer than an hour of what we said, but we love you all, and thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, we'll see you later. This will be recorded, and we'll get it out to you soon. So thanks a lot, everyone.